Sneaking out of the castle at night and wandering the city streets and learning in the process that there are things about her city and her kingdom that her advisors haven't told her. So basically she's beginning to stumble upon some of the mysteries that make up this plot. So now it's morning and she's back in her tower office with her advisors, Theo, Runnymede, and Darby. You don't need to remember the names, tripping all around her. So here goes. "I want a map," Bitterblue said out loud. "A map?" said Theo, startled, then rustling a sheaf of papers at her. "Of the location of this charter town?" "No," Bitterblue said, "a street map of Bitterblue City. I want to study a map. Send someone to get one, will you, Theo?" "Does this have anything to do with the trial this morning?" Lady Queen asked Theo. "Theo, I just want a map. Get me a map." "Gracious," said Theo. "Darby," he said, turning to that bright-eyed personage as he burst once more into the room, "send someone to the library for a street map of the city, a recent map, for the Queen's perusal, would you?" "A recent street map, indeed," Darby said, spinning around and taking off again. "We're procuring a map," Lady Queen reported Theo, turning back to Bitterblue. "Yes," said Bitterblue sarcastically, rubbing her head. "I was here when it happened, Theo." "Is everything all right, Lady Queen? You seem a bit ruffled." "She's tired," Runnymede announced, perched in a window with his arms crossed. "Her Majesty is tired of charters and judgments and reports. If she wishes a map, she shall have one." It annoyed Bitterblue that Runnymede understood. "I want to have more say in where I go on my tours from now on," she snapped. "And so you shall," said Runnymede grandly. Honestly, she did not know how Theo could stand him. Theo was so plain and Runnymede so affected, yet the two of them worked together so comfortably, always capable of becoming a united front from the moment Bitterblue stepped over the line of which only they knew the position. She decided to keep her mouth shut until the map arrived, to prevent herself from betraying the stratospheric heights of her irritability. When it did arrive, it brought with it the royal librarian and a member of the Queen's Guard, Holt, for the librarian delivered so much more than she'd asked for that he couldn't carry it up the stairs without Holt's help. "Lady Queen," the librarian said, "as your Majesty's request was disobligingly unspecific, I thought it best to deliver a range of maps to increase the odds that one pleases you. It's my fervent wish to return to my work uninterrupted by your little people." Bitterblue's librarian was graced with the ability to read inhumanly fast and remember every word forever, or so he said, and certainly he seemed to have this skill, but Bitterblue wondered sometimes if he mightn't also be graced with unpleasantness. His name was Death. It was spelled like death, but pronounced to rhyme with teeth, and Bitterblue liked to mispronounce it by accident on occasion. "If that will be all, Lady Queen," said Death, dumping an armload of scrolls onto the edge of her desk, "I'll be going." Half of the scrolls rolled away and hit the floor with hollow thuds. "Really," said Theo crossly, bending to collect them, "I was quite clear to Darby that we wished a single recent map. Take these away, Death. They're unnecessary." "All paper maps are recent," said Death with a sniff, "when one considers the vastness of geological time." "Her Majesty merely wishes to see the city as it is today," said Theo. "A city is a living organism," said Death, "always changing. Her Majesty wishes—" "I wish you would all go away," said Bitterblue desolately, more to herself than to anyone else. Both men continued arguing. Runnymede joined in, and then Holt, the Queen's Guard, placed his maps on the desk, neatly so they would not fall, tipped Theo over one shoulder, tipped Death over the other, and stood under his load. In the astonished silence that followed, Holt lumbered toward Runnymede, who, understanding, let out a snort and stalked from the room of his own accord. Then Holt carried his outraged burdens away on either shoulder, just as they got their voices back. Bitterblue could hear them screaming their indignation all the way down the stairs. Holt was a guard in his 40s with lovely eyes of gray and silver, a large, broad man with a friendly, open face. He was graced with strength. That was odd, Bitterblue mused aloud, but it was nice to be alone. Opening a scroll randomly, she saw that it was an astronomical map of the constellations above the city. Cursing Death, she pushed it aside. The next one was a map of the castle before Lex renovations. The next was, amazingly, a street map of the city, but a strange map, with words obliterated here and there, and no bridges at all. The fourth, finally, was a modern-day map, for the bridges were shown. Yes, it was quite clearly present day, for it was titled Bitterblue City, not Lex City, or the name of any previous king. Bitterblue shifted the stacks of paper on her desk so that they held down the corners of her map, spitefully pleased to find a use for them that didn't involve her having to read them. Then she settled in to study the map, determined, at least, to have a better sense of geography the next time she snuck out.